Brussels insiders have lifted the lid on the increasingly bleak mood among its Brexit negotiators, with one EU source admitting, "Outsiders don't realise how pessimistic we've become." The growing sense of despondency within Michel Barnier's team is fueled by fears of a bitter no-deal Brexit, with EU negotiators braced for a vicious blame game over who is responsible for the stalemate. Last week's tense talks, which ended in stalemate, did nothing to lift flagging spirits in Brussels. An EU insider said, "Outsiders don't realise how pessimistic we've become. We expect the mood to switch rapidly to contingency planning, in expectation the UK will throw itself into the blame game rather than the end game. The idea that if we do end up with no deal it'll be because the EU underestimated the UK's determination is misplaced. If it happens it'll be because there was no overlap of interests allowing a landing zone." Post-Brexit trade talks between the UK and EU are frozen, with both sides refusing to back down on the key issues of fisheries and state aid. Mr Barnier warned agreeing a deal before the deadline currently seems unlikely, as he suggested Britain is wasting valuable time. His UK counterpart David Frost also warned there has been little progress after the conclusion of the 7th round of talks last Friday. Both sides accept time is running out to broker a deal before the transition period comes to a close at the end of the year, which would see UK firms facing high tariffs for trade. Mr Frost said he believes an agreement can still be struck, but he accused the EU of ruling out any further substantive work unless the UK accepts the bloc's state aid rules and fisheries policy. A senior negotiating official for the UK insisted it's not us that's slowing it down, and ruled out accepting Mr Barnier's position. "Obviously we're not going to do that. So it's frozen." After a breakfast meeting between the top negotiators at the close of the talks in Brussels, Mr Barnier was equally as pessimistic about progress. He said, "Too often it felt as if we were going backwards more than forwards. Given the short time left, what I said in London in July remains true. At this stage, an agreement between the UK and the European Union seems unlikely. I simply do not understand why we are wasting valuable time." He said we have made no progress whatsoever on the key issues of fishing policy, and said they still struggle to agree on the necessary guarantees to protect citizens' fundamental rights in law enforcement.